Is Sonic Frontiers actually good? Sonic is a series that has undergone some of the most changes of any game series. One day it's a simple 2D platformer, the next it's a chaotic 3D disaster. Today, we'll be using the series history to determine the foggy future of Sonic's next entry. To figure out if Sonic Frontiers might actually be good, we first need to take a look back at the history of Sonic games. If you're a Sonic fan, you know one thing all too well. 3D Sonic games are a hot topic, to say the least. Don't get me wrong, the 2D Sonic games are some of the best games of all time, true platforming masterpieces that stand the test of time. But when it comes to 3D Sonic, be it Sonic Adventures, Sonic 06, Unleashed, Generations, Lost World, Sonic Boom, Forces, they kind of fall flat. It's always a similar story. The game releases, it has a bunch of bugs, feels wonky, or it's just straight up bad. But maybe, just maybe, that ends now. Could Sonic Frontiers be the first good 3D Sonic game? More on that later. Point is, fans of the Blue Hedgehog never seem to get a game that fully satisfies them. At least, not in 3D. Now, obviously all of the 3D games have their own dedicated fans, except Boom. Nobody likes that one. Some really like Sonic Unleashed for its phenomenal day stages, and can tolerate the werehog sections. Others think Colors is the best 3D one, and adventure fans are split between the first and second game. Personally, I have a soft spot for the story and atmosphere of Sonic and the Secret Rings. While these games often get slammed for the boost mechanics, story, and gimmicky gameplay, they do have occasional good qualities. Take music, for example, which is always top-notch. So on that front, Sonic fans have always been eating good. Still, with such a rocky history with the third dimension, it's easy to see why people fear Frontiers is just another mediocre or poor attempt at making Sonic work in 3D. Sonic Frontiers first got revealed all the way back in May of 2021. Even though we got no actual gameplay, the teaser trailer still looked intriguing. People quickly linked the teaser to Sonic Colors thanks to the weird symbols and flashy lights surrounding Sonic as he ran. Unfortunately, this was all the Sonic Frontiers information we got until December, when we finally got a proper look at the game. What did we learn? Like so many games nowadays, Sonic Frontiers would be open world. That's right, following the Breath of the Wild craze, even Sonic is taking the leap to open world. Goes without saying that this left fans pretty shocked. Everyone and anyone wanted to see more information on this game. How would it play? Will it be fun? Will this brand new Sonic game actually be good? We wouldn't know the answer to any of these questions until the June 2022 world premiere. At the world premiere, we got the first big gameplay drop, and oh boy, were people angry. Many of the complaints were mostly focused on the game's visuals, which made the game look unpolished and too realistic for Sonic standards. Everything looked different from the usual world we're used to, and many didn't like that. The usual Sonic elements like the rails, and even Sonic himself seemed to clash heavily with the environment, making the whole thing feel a little uncanny. Another major complaint was how empty the world looked. Sure, there's a big open world to explore, but if there's nothing to visit or do, then what's the point? Things weren't all bad for Sonic Frontiers. A few months later, we got even more trailers, which actually seemed to calm the public's fury. Most notably, we got to see a level very similar to the classic Green Hill Zone. This new level is called the Cyberspace, which had a different environment that seemed to reassure people of one thing. The clash of art styles from the world premiere was actually made on purpose to accentuate that Sonic isn't from this game's world. All of this brings us to today, where journalists and game reviewers alike have gotten the chance to play Frontiers hands-on. While most of them only got about 30 minutes to play the game at AGX and Gamescom, others have actually gotten the chance to play the first 6 hours of the game. And what's the verdict? In short, the game looks promising. Even though Sonic Frontiers still looks visually unpolished, it's received a major upgrade from that initial reveal. On top of that, frame rate has even been bumped up to a smooth 60 frames per second for all platforms. That is, except for the Nintendo Switch, where it runs at 30. Graphics and technical jargon aside, let's talk about the meat and potatoes of Sonic Frontiers. Obviously, the major appeal of this game is the vast new open world, which is the vital centerpiece for this game. Unfortunately, the consensus from people who've tested the game are all over the place. Some really love roaming around the fields and doing cool tricks, grinding on the rails, and just really exploring every nook and cranny. And while that sounds all fine and dandy, there is an opposing group of critics who felt that the open sections lacked speed, and that fighting enemies, while cool visually, got repetitive pretty quickly. On the other hand, the cyberspace levels are unanimously agreed upon to be very fun. In contrast to the free roam section, the cyberspace levels are linear, classic Sonic fun. They vary from boost levels where you get to rely on quick reactions, to grind rail levels where you get to quickly hop from one to another. What's more is that some sections even change the perspective to 2D and focus on your platforming skills. While not a whole lot is said about the story, for spoiler reasons, it seems the tone of the game is way more grounded. It's serious, but not too serious. It's still chili dog loving Sonic after all. The game really tries to build an atmosphere around this new, mysterious world that the main cast has been put into. The idea is especially reflected in Sonic's voice, which sounds different to say the least. His voice actor is still Roger Craig Smith, but his delivery is the reverse of Sonic's cool teenager vibe. Not only does Sonic sound more mature, but it's been found that he speaks significantly less during gameplay sections. It makes sense when you think about it. Sega's trying to build up an atmosphere of isolation and make you feel like you're really stranded in mysterious new lands. Hearing Sonic scream, "Woo!" every 5 seconds would kinda spoil the moment. With that said, let's answer the question you've all been waiting for. Is Sonic Frontiers actually good? Unfortunately, the answer is far from cut and dry. The best we can say is that there's reason to be optimistic. Of course, we've only seen a small amount of the game, meaning we have no idea how the whole experience could pan out. On the bright side, it's possible that Sonic Frontiers could be a new, revolutionary title for the franchise, much like how Breath of the Wild was to the Zelda series. But on the contrary, it's possible that we could get yet another disappointment in the already long pile of 3D Sonic games. For the sake of Sega and everyone's favorite Blue Hedgehog, as though there's more than one, let's hope that it's the former. But what do you think? Are you hyped for Frontiers? Until next time, this has been Brett with Game Domain. I'll see you in another video. Oh, one more thing. I just watched Sonic 2 for the first time the other night, and I have to say, it was pretty dang good.